Now that we know how histograms work and how levels work, let's take a quick look at threshold. So threshold is used a lot when people are making things like comics that they're going to be coloring, and they need to get rid of grays and things that pop up during the scanning process of their line work. This thing's pretty useful because what it does is it converts things to black and white. And I'm just going to take this snail that I've copied, and I'm going to go up to Image, Adjustments, and I'm going to go all the way down to Thresholds, which unfortunately doesn't have a key command unless you were to make a key command. It's perfectly possible to go into Photoshop and set up your own key commands for everything, remap everything if you want. In this case, Threshold also exists as an adjustment layer, but for demonstration purposes, we're going to be destructive, and boom, pop this up. Now you might have done this before. By default, Threshold will just go, hey, at the 128 value, anything above 128 shall be set to white. Anything below 128 shall be set to black. Turning this lever up moves that. So if you bring it to 255, everything below 255 turns to black. Sure enough, you can see that we have just this silhouette of the snail and also some little artifacts popping up that we may have missed. Threshold is actually super useful because of that. If you think you're on a white background and you're not 100% sure, you can make a threshold adjustment layer under the adjustment layer icon, the little black-white icon, threshold, and just crank that thing to 255. And now you can see that certain areas of the snail are not white. You could come in there with your white paintbrush, and you could just edit that away or erase it if you're working with transparency. Super useful thing. So that's one purpose for threshold. Another purpose for threshold is just to use it as a pretty adjustment. Like if you fiddle around in here, you can see some areas look really good with it, just different areas at a different time. So what you could do is actually make a bunch of copies of the snail. We duplicate it and duplicate it and duplicate it. And then you could use your threshold adjustment a little bit at a time. Image, adjustment, threshold. Like for example, this looks pretty good for this area. Tell it okay. Move it down here so we've got another snail. Let's grab this area. Image, adjustment, threshold, as I miss twice. And then just paying attention to the upper area, like in this chunk here. This looks pretty good. Tell it okay. We can start combining these. So if we control click on a layer, you'll see that it selects all the active pixels. If we take the magic wand tool, we can, assuming that we are sampling contiguous and on the same layer I'm looking at, magic wand tool, we can select all of that one color instead. So I can delete that color for the most part. Same over here. So it comes through. That's a lot of work though, right? Like why not just use multiply? Because multiply will knock out all of the white. Well, the reason is this. Let's take it one step back. If we were to, let's take it a few steps back. If we were to use the magic wand tool with contiguous off so that it will bounce over and select all the white and delete, we have this great black. We can now control click on the layer again. Boom, so that it selects just the black. Pop on over to this snail layer where we just wanted these adjustments. Delete that out of there. And now we can control this in really cool ways. Maybe if we didn't have the snail right underneath it, we could have grays and we could do this. Now this starts to look like some prints that you've seen on t-shirts and things, maybe not of snails. But this seems like a lot of work, and there's a lot more fiddly stuff to go on. There's got to be a better way if you want a good threshold adjustment across everything, right? Where you get like these beautiful little speckles of noise in it that represent where the grays used to be and all that. Well, that's what we're going to do for this week's assignment. We're going to go ahead and create something that's a two-tone where we have a colored background and then a black image that just has the threshold application. But we want to do that in fewer steps. And the way that we're going to do that is actually with the smart objects, which allows for finer control, and adjustment layers, which allows for dynamic non-destructive controls. And by dynamic, I mean that you can move things around throughout it and have them adapt according to where they are. So it's pretty cool. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about smart objects and smart adjustments and smart filters over the next few videos to catch you guys up to speed on how Photoshop can non-destructively store and edit things.